Donald Byrd on trumpet, and Pepper Adams on baritone sax, and they front this quintet, a great quintet, featuring Herbie Hancock on piano, Layman Jackson on bass, and Jimmy Cobb on drums. This is called Kudos. This is from their 1961 album, Out of This World. Kudos was a very famous jazz spot, part of the vibrant jazz club scene in Milwaukee, where many a jazz legend, including Herbie Hancock, got their start. This is Leid Stories. I'm Utrice Leid, and I'm going to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while today, and that is I'm not so thrilled about the choices or the big choice that should be made this year about President of the United States and whether, voting is something I should do. I'm still out of the circle around that. I just don't feel good about it. How can I feel good about something that I normally should feel good about, but I've been feeling very disaffected for a very long time, for many years, as a matter of fact. Because you see every year a deterioration in standards or values, to use the popular term. We have running for president a person who clearly is psychologically unstable. It's been out there for a long time now, for his entire first term so far. And I look around and I'm listening to programs, I'm listening to people talking, and it seems as if it is not important. It's not an issue. When did the mental health and sanity and stability and acuity of the candidates for office, when did it not become an issue? And why is it not an issue still? I mean, we see the behavior, and you want to call up some agency right away and request a team with, with nets and means of containment to come get him and take him away. I'm talking about Trump. Take him someplace where he can get the major, serious, in-depth help that he needs. But we're hurtling toward the general election, November 3rd, and it seems as if it's a foregone conclusion that it doesn't matter. The president's obvious mental problems do not matter. We should pay no attention. He has taken the country way off course. He's broken a whole bunch of rules, which should, in my view, put him behind bars for a while after a trial. And we're just going along. And everybody's talking about the election as if, well, it's just the next big thing, and let's get on with it. And you wonder, I mean, was something sprayed in the air that got to our brains, that addled our brains? Were we subjected to mass hypnosis of some sort? That we can't tell that we are in deep trouble? And that Trump is at the very root of it? But the infection has spread and continues to spread. And we are talking about the economy and the pandemic, and and we keep ignoring the big beast in the room. There's a person running for president who should not be a candidate. Not just for president, but for anything. And we've been told that in many ways, by many people, this president is loaded with problems. And many of them we still do not know, because there hasn't been a convocation called to address the matter. What do you do with a president who is so out of sorts? What's the word I'm looking for? So out of whack. And, you know, all of the agencies, the federal agencies, they're having their news conferences and they're issuing reports, and life is going on. We don't even know who's running the country right now. We don't even know what has happened to the office itself, the authority of the office. We don't know who is doing what. We know that Trump is all over the place, like a cheap version of a car salesman. And he's going on with his world. We just happen to be in it. But he is orchestrating things according to his likes, according to his priorities and his family's priorities. And the whole country, it seems to me, is completely besotted with this idea that Trump is the guy. Trump is the guy this nation needs. And I wonder, I feel like I've been administered some kind of a mind-numbing drug in my sleep. And somebody has control of my mind, because I'm not thinking. I'm not thinking the way I typically think. I can't understand this whole, the national malaise. I can't understand this denial and insistence to not know what is happening, to not recognize it, to not do anything about it, to go along, to not protest that there is something deeply and fundamentally wrong here. And we shouldn't be discussing an election. We should be discussing the involuntary committing of a president to a treatment center. We should be discussing what is wrong with the president, and we should be discussing the details, since he has no problem with being very public about things. Let's publicly discuss what the hell is going on with him and why, as a nation, we are indulging this garbage. We are putting up with it. We are cooperating. We are not showing any signs of rebellion. That we are okay with the entire country and the future of the country even in the hands of somebody so sick. And we come together in programs like this, and we talk, and we have a good exchange of views. We don't get a damn thing done because we are avoiding, as I said, the beast in the room. And then we wonder why it is that we are on the slippery slope. We're going down, down, down. Because our standards have eroded to the point where we are trying to find confluence. We're trying to find a match. We're trying to behave as expected, as our leader, and possibly, again, our would-be leader expects us to behave, which is to behave like him. Obey his rules. He's in charge. For now, he's settled for being in charge of the United States, but he's on course to be in charge of the world. That's how crazy he is. And we don't see a problem. We don't see it to be so urgent that we need to stop everything and say, wait a minute, we've got to resolve this. We shouldn't go another day without understanding what is happening with the leader of the country. And then the ancillary consequences being that it is happening also to all the people he has elected to perform vital duties. I don't get it. We are almost at the point of voting, and we have a major problem. At least one of the people who currently occupies a leading position is defective in a major way. And we have convinced ourselves that it does not matter. This is not an issue. Even if he were to be elected, there are fail-safes. We have checks and balances. We have ways of... We've rationalized our own madness. We could cope with this because there are systems in place that could, harness him and put him in check, which, of course, is not the issue. The issue is he has been let through the sluice by design, by will, by preference. He has been given the privilege of escaping scrutiny. So the question is, do we have standards or not? What is this really bad joke that we are expected to participate in come November 3rd? The nation elects somebody with major psychological and behavioral defects that compromise the safety of all. And we are to believe, if we are patriotic and good citizens, we are to believe that he can handle it. He's not off the wall. He's a perfectly centered man, solid citizen. Everything is telling us the answer is no. He isn't at all solid. And yet, no one in any position of authority, no one has come forward and said we should be concerned that come November 3rd, it is possible this country can elect somebody completely unfit for that office and who may drive us directly into a disaster of biblical proportions. We're acting as if Trump is okay. Everybody's acting like he's okay. All the people who normally should raise their voices are saying nothing. Well, he's just different. That's what they said about every single despot that managed to barge his way through. He's just a different kind of person. So, on the cusp of this election, having witnessed things that we would probably like to forget already, I raise the question once more. Is the mental health and acuity of a presidential candidate who stands a very good chance, by the way, of being elected, re-elected, is it a serious issue? Is it something that we need not worry about? And is this the new standard? Well, we could say yes, because he's trying to be re-elected. So he already has established a new standard and been permitted to do so. And what does it say about a society that refuses to face squarely a major issue that will have global implications? What does it say about us? We're supposed to be enlightened people. We're supposed to sound the alarm. But the record is right there. It's in front of our eyes. We have not made a clamor. We have not forcefully raised a question. We've gone along with it too. So I don't want to hear anybody telling me how progressive they are if they cannot show, they cannot demonstrate that they haven't gone along with this, that they have spoken out against it, and are in the process of continuing opposition to this, because this is a crisis. This is a pandemic. You have somebody on the loose who is imperiling the lives of everyone and will continue to do so. And yet we look upon it as a form of entertainment. Oh, there he goes again. Yeah, he's, interfering with elections now. And he's telling people, go vote twice and see if you get caught. This is the president or the candidate for president of the United States again. This man needs to be taken somewhere and have a battery of experts work on him to figure out what possibly went wrong with him early in his life and continued all the way till now. But again, it is an amazing thing to see very intelligent people agree to be bamboozled like this, agree to sign on to this insanity, and say, well, it's an election. We have fail-safes. We have people who will observe and who will raise the alarm. None of that is happening. It hasn't happened so far. He's been in office already for 3 years. He's looking for at least 4 more. We just talk. All the people who are psychiatric experts and sociological experts, where are they? Why is there no national clamor that this cannot be? That we have no standards and we will presumably continue to have no standards for minimal standards. You should be sane. How about that as a minimal standard? You shouldn't lie pathologically like this. These things are triggers, at least they should be, for a national response. You can't presume to run for office, and everything about you is scary. Everything about you. You don't think right. You don't act right. Nothing you do is ordinary and reasonable. You're off the charts. You like it that way. And you have now insisted that the country revamp its thinking that you are normal and we should aspire to be like you. We should aspire to please you because this is your personal possession. The entire country is your personal possession. I raised a question. I don't want it said that I haven't raised a question. I did before. But as we get closer to November the 3rd, I'm even more concerned that we are all in it. We are co-conspirators. Because we say nothing. We challenge nothing. And yet we are hoping for a better result this time. Something is wrong now with us. We all need to check in for a massive overhaul psychologically. So that's what I want to talk about today. If we are going to do nothing, if it is that we will not openly challenge this, at least let it be on the record that we raised a question and we're serious about it. This is not an academic issue. This is a very serious, real issue. If we say nothing, we are not at all entitled to criticize. We are not at all entitled, even as citizens, to claim that right of citizenship. We should just shut up, put our tails between our legs, and slink off. We are cowards. And we are permitting a new kind of genocide where we have people completely unsuited for leadership. And by our silence, we encourage them, we bolster their courage to continue underperforming. I'll take a break, and I'll come back to your thoughts at 888-874-4888 right after this. You're listening to Leid Stories on PRN.FM. I'm waxing somewhat philosophic today because I cannot go another day without expressing deep concern and outrage at the fact that we are just a blink of an eye away from having a national contest for the presidency of the United States, and the mental acuity of at least one person that is so obvious is not, I repeat, is not an issue. It will obviously not be an issue. And we will go on pretending that we're all good to go. Everything is fine and dandy. It's just an election. What's the big deal? I'm asking this particular community especially that is concerned about these things, that thinks about these things. What are you thinking now? We're about to elect a president of the United States who has suffered major psychological damage and carries it with him with great pride and has convinced the entire country there's nothing wrong. What are you worried about? There's nothing wrong. Just keep moving. 888-874-4888. What are your thoughts on this question? Is it that I'm making too much of a small thing? This is really not a big deal. Because there are enough safeguards that would prevent anything catastrophic from happening. And in any event, we can't come to conclusions about what we see. As Groucho Marx once asked, you believe me or your lying eyes? It's reached a point now of no return because we are about to have this election. And whether he, quote, wins or doesn't win, he still will remain a permanent thread in the fabric of our lives. And he would have gotten away without scrutiny, the scrutiny that he deserves, and the scrutiny that we should exercise because we too are stewards of the country. We too have a role to play in safeguarding what we loosely call democracy. And we are not doing our jobs. I want to know why. What do you think is the reason that we have backed off of this? And we seem to have no interest at all in tackling it. We have other things to do. Far more important than this, we would argue. Would you argue that? 888-874-4888. All right. I don't see anybody yet. Okay. We'll see who calls in. I know, because part of this whole exercise, you realize, is that we are to blame. We are the ones. And we have to face the contradictions that we say one thing or we say we believe one thing, and there's no proof that we are brave enough or dedicated enough to act on it. Bill from Brooklyn.
Well, good to be here with you and the family, Utrice.
Thank you.
I just had to take a moment. You're right on point, and the problem, in my opinion, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. However, I did work in a facility years ago when I was a student, and the whole country is ill, is sick. We're suffering from this person who has extreme oppositional personality disorder, and a good chunk of the population has been taken under a kind of a Stockholm syndrome where, we're all been held hostage, and now at least a good portion of folks have, they're looking to Trump as someone that they idolize and worship and will protect. And so there's this sort of pall that has come over the the populace that we're all, or except for our enlightened audience, such as you and many others, somewhat ill. Trump is symptomatic of the sickness in the country, and I'm usually, and I still am, an optimist. However, the day-to-day things that this very ill man does gives me pause. I mean, I took my breath away literally last night when I heard him with my own ears tell people to vote twice, and it's like, what? And so the alternative, which I think the country is not willing to face up to, is, and what will happen, unfortunately, if this person is elected at some point, this is when nations or people are pushed to true revolution, where people will vote and will go and bodily drag this nightmare out of office, out of the White House. There will be no safe place for him, and because he will have the tipping point is coming, and with everything going on with COVID and people unemployed and things going all over the world, and his constant lying and craziness, it can only go for so long. But it's a nation that is reflecting his illness, and I think it's really very problematic and really very frightening, because this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable, and people better wake up quickly.
Would Donald Trump have been given this much elastic if he were a black person?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It would not have lasted for a week. Even with if it was just someone who was black and just lying constantly, that would not have occurred. The media would have descended like rabid dogs and would have devoured him. No, it's clearly a race-conscious thing. It's clearly a racist country, unfortunately, that is now under the control of an openly racist president. There's no getting around it. And that's what people need to wake up and see. But people are so deluded, with all of the things on TV, the game shows, the distractions. They're more worried about, going to see a baseball game than going to vote. And so we are truly, there needs to be, a cosmic SOS, because we are in deep trouble, very deep trouble. And I tell you, for myself, for the first time, I'm like, I'm weary. It's like, where can I go? Where on this planet, on this rock, can I go for 4 years if, God forbid, the unthinkable happens? Because without just going to the extreme, becoming a revolutionary myself, I'm an intellectual, but however, in the past, we've seen other intellectuals, who do turn revolutionary. And then, it's all out at that point. And so that I truly don't want to see happen in this country. I think we can move beyond it, but there must be an awakening very, very quickly. I'm now reading the book that just came out yesterday by Michael Schmidt, Donald Trump v. United States. And that is terrifying. I'm listening to the audio version. I'm like, it's 14 hours. I'm about 6 hours into it. And that gets into the minutia of this person's madness and malaise and craziness and vindictiveness. It's truly a frightening read. And I would encourage people to check it out. But we're in deep trouble. We are very, very at risk and very deep trouble.
So why are we so calm? Why is it? I mean, the excitement is associated with the election. That people are all excited about this election, but they're not excited about what they really need to be excited about.
I think because of the distractions. And also we're sort of punch drunk. the nation is nationally experiencing, symptomatic punch drunkenness after being pummeled for every minute that Donald Trump has been in office. And so people are weary, people are tired, people are looking for distractions. They're worried about the realities of their own lives, and really feel somewhat just on the current, just going along with whatever happens. But there's going to be a tipping point, and it's not going to be good.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your considered opinions today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Yatrice.
Thank you. 888-874-4888. What do you agree with what Bill said? Let me hear you. Jay from New York, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, Yatrice, and to your listening audience. Hope all is well.
Thank you, Jay.
The reality is Donald Trump is just America at its best, maybe at its worst, or maybe it is what it is. I mean, the man has basically shown the country and the world that he's unfit to lead, that he's a narcissist, that he may be suffering from dementia or God knows what else. But the truth of the matter is the majority of Americans don't care. They don't see the damage that he's creating. They don't care about the harm that he's creating in regards to just the basic forms of civility and what it's leading to. I mean, anytime you have white people protesting and another white person kills two of them, and he's making it seem like the killer was basically defending himself, that's challenging right there alone. I mean, and to have a black man savagely beaten and shot, and for him to go to his hometown and don't even acknowledge him, that's even deeper. So the reality is the man picks and chooses what he wishes to pick and choose to move forward whatever agenda he's trying to push.
But we don't know what those are. We don't know what his agenda is. We know only what he does from day to day, minute to minute. We have no idea what his agenda is. He has not produced a comprehensive plan, still not produced one. So we don't know what's in his head.
But you know what's even more scarier, Yatrice? What I heard last night, that Rachel Maddow reported about him having some sort of radiologist in his ear talking about letting her immunity happen. I mean, that right there is probably one of the most craziest things I've heard, and to see to whereas this may be the new agenda that he's pushing in regards to the pandemic, and people ain't in the uproar over it. I mean,
we don't know. We don't know what's happening.
Excuse me?
We don't know what's going on. We have no idea what's going on because even the media is confused.
No, but that's what's so scary, that for some reason I don't think people in this country, Yatrice, are grasping the madness that is in play with this fool.
But let's talk about you. Let's bring it to you. How have you been affected? I mean, consciously, how are you affected right now about this question?
Observation of the craziness of how the country is moving forward in an uncivil tone, and how my people just don't have no clue or no direction, and everything that they're doing is predicated on him getting out of office. And if he is reelected, they don't know what they're going to do. And that concerns me more than anything. I mean, I'm concerned about what's going to happen to black people if he is back in office. What direction are they going to go in? What type of danger are they going to be in? I mean, just their total mental existence. Are they going to give up? Are they going to fight back? How are they going to fight back? What are they going to do to sustain themselves? Are they going to collectively come together and try to move forward in another direction? That's what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about him. I'm not that concerned. I'm concerned about black people. I'm concerned about, are we going to be able to move forward on a collective level to where our children have some sort of a semblance of a future? Because let's be very clear, he's going to destroy, if he's reelected, the fiber of this country, and there may be some sort of racial wars and things of that nature in certain spots. And I'm just concerned my people are going to be able to survive and move forward and, you know, deal on the level of how we're going to exist on the planet. Because I don't think, in all honesty, we've ever faced the type of threat in this country since, I would say, Jim Crow. I think we may even be placed in a similar position of Jim Crow if he's reelected, because the terror is going to be totally against people of color, and we're right there in the mix of it. And the thing is, he's going to be in the position to put a nail in some coffins that we don't understand, like the Supreme Court and the justice on the federal level. That's going to totally decimate any sort of progress in regards to civil rights or anything for the years to come. We're in trouble.
All right. No question. Thank you so much, though, for sharing your analysis. 888-874-4888. Who's up next? Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I can't complain today. Yeah, I've been listening to the show. I do think that there is an issue with the president, but I look at it just very differently. I think America is running and doing, well, let me back up. I don't think it matters anymore whether it's Trump, Biden, Democrat, Republican. I think there's a new regime in charge. We just don't see them. The same people who have always been pulling the strings, they are now just starting to come out into the light, show their faces, etc. Whether it's Trump or Biden, it doesn't make a difference. You can look at our foreign policy as an example of that. We're still going forward. Israel bombing Syria, Lebanon, Yemen is still almost wiped off the planet. So we're still doing everything we do as a country despite crazy Donald Trump or brain dead Joe Biden. We have to be, I think our larger fight is this virus and the announcement now that November 1st, they're going to be rolling out the vaccine to everybody. They haven't tested this thing in the way they normally should. I think all of the older things we used to be concerned about and worried about, we have to let that go. We're in the 21st century. This is beyond just party politics at this point. This is our individual health of ourselves and our families.
Do you think we have responsibility? We share some responsibility here for not being as strenuous in our opposition to not just Trump, but the system that enables Trump and that keeps him going.
Without a doubt, we have sat back and allowed a lot of things. Matter of fact, the perfect example of this was after the mess that George Bush left. Only thing we did was put Obama in office, and everybody just sat back. They kept their mouths shut. They didn't criticize him as much as they should have because, it was the optics of criticizing a black man in front of everybody. But look where that got us. Absolutely nowhere. And he was a waste of a president. And if people are happy at the fact that they had a symbol in the White House, you got to wake up. Look at everything now. Look, he single-handedly tried to help. Not single-handedly, but he destroyed Bernie's campaign. He aided in that event. Look what he just did with the NBA. There were several guys who were looking to actually take a radical step and not play. What Obama do? Pick up the phone, call Chris Paul, LeBron James, and tell them, just play. Just have the owners do more. So you're not an ally. So, yes, we have been very complacent, and we have allowed a lot of this to happen to ourselves because we just don't do anything. We don't voice any defiance. We're very obedient, probably too obedient.
Do you believe that there is an opportunity still, although the clock is winding down, but do you think that there's an opportunity still to, in some way, correct or to arrest the situation and turn it in a different direction?
For nationally, no. I think it's already too late. I think if you don't do something in your own community, if you're not at your city council meetings, your commissioners meetings, trying to affect change on your local level, then that's it. Because nationally, it's too big. Because you can even see it, right? Donald Trump's attitude towards the virus has been, what did he say? He called it a hoax or whatever you want to call it, right? And a lot of his followers think it's a hoax, et cetera, right? But yet he is still proceeding with everything that the medical companies and the pharmaceutical companies want to do. So even he's not in charge. And we know he does everything for his base. He tries to placate them, et cetera, et cetera. But even on this issue, he has zero control. None. And I think the Democrats, furthermore, they're going to try to steal the election from him because, like I told you last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't know any young people that like Biden. They're all going to stay home. So they're going to try to steal it. They're going to make a mess. It's just, I hate to be the one to say it, but I pay attention. I've been following things. And if you notice 3 statements from Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, and I can't remember the third Democrat. But you notice in August they're talking about concession for a November election. Why are you talking about Joe Biden not conceding in August? What are you telling us?
So do you think we have some more to discuss around this issue? Do we know where we ought to go with this discussion? Where would you go?
Where would I go? One, we have to fully divorce ourselves from this idea of partisanship, left, right, Democrat, Republican. It only serves to let the same ruling class consolidate power every time because we're so busy nitpicking at each other over issues that don't really affect us for the most part. The things that they make us argue about, for instance. Look, everyone was talking about Russia, Rachel Maddow, Russia every night. But there's nothing there. The people that the Democrats hired to do the work in the Senate hearing said, we didn't find any information that the data was hacked, not just from Russia, but from anyone. This is the person that the Democrats hired. They knew this information in 2017. They didn't allow it. They didn't make that hearing public. The minutes came out. And yet the media, Russia. Now on the other side, it's China. So now if one doesn't win, it's Russia's fault.
Russia
and then
China,
on the other side, it's China's fault.
Yeah.
So we just have to, we have to unbelieve a lot of things. And we have to challenge everything. stop just listening to people we like or comfortable with, because quite honestly, they're paid a lot of money to mislead us.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, Chris. A very sobering contribution you made to us today.
Thank you, Therese. Have a good weekend.
You too. We're going to continue this discussion because we also have to look at our role, our complacency, our silent approval of just saying, well, we won't talk about it. We'll see how it turns out. Hopefully it will turn out for the best. But that's not the way we're supposed to be thinking. We are activist type people. We are supposed to have a better understanding. And when things are going in this direction, we are supposed to be counted on as a voice to say, this is not right. This does not smell right. And here are the main reasons that this is not going down the right way. And to be a kind of bellwether for what is happening. We haven't seen that at all. Our community has been either written off or just not included or not interested in taking on the subject. But we must take on the subject because it is now at the point of being unavoidable. I want to thank you all for calling in and contributing so meaningfully today. Always, I'm very, very proud of the effort that you put into getting your points across, because you're educating, and that is very vital for us at this time. We'll see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye.